Good morning. My name is Helene. I'm the Director of Communications and Public Engagement for Buncombe County Government. And today is Thursday, October 17th, and it's also the first day of early voting. I'm hoping I can get some time this weekend so I can swing by my early voting place at the Black Mountain Library. But you can vote anytime between 9 and 5 p.m. all weekend and all next week at any one of our 10 early voting locations. Today, we are joined by our public school superintendents, Dr. Furman and Dr. Jackson, along with Bob Hicks from the Buncombe County Permits and Inspections Department. And we also have Beth Russo from ELON Charities. But first, I'll turn things over to County Manager Avril Pender.
Thanks, Lillian. Good morning. On September 25th, Buncombe County Commissioners declared a local state of emergency. And we remain under that state of emergency and likely will for many more weeks to come. It gives me a great deal of hope to share that we are looking to start bringing some county operations online next week. We'll have more details to share once they are confirmed. Another big milestone was achieved yesterday. Based on a laboratory analysis of water samples collected from Tunnel Weaverville on October 15, 2024, water in Weaverville, only Weaverville, no longer needs to be boiled for any purpose. You can reuse it straight out of the tap. The boil water advisory across the county remains with the exception of the tongue of Black Mountains, where water can only be used for flushing toilets. Do not consume that water. We know this storm has greatly impacted employment. Disaster unemployment assistance is available. Just call 919-629-3857. It is for English. And for Spanish, 919-276-5698. People will be able to get help specific to their needs, so please give them a call. Their call center is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sunday, noon to 4 p.m. Again, those numbers are for English, 919-629-3857, and for Spanish, 919-276-5698. Today is the first day of early voting. You can get an ID from the elections office during early voting. It takes about 10 minutes. You can vote 7 days a week, anytime between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. at one of our early voting locations. Those locations are Black Mountain Library, 105 North Dougherty Street in Black Mountain, East Asheville Library, 3 Avon Road in Asheville, Anchor Candler Library, 1404 Sand Hill Road in Candler, Fairview Library, 1 Taylor Road in Fairview, Leicester Community Center, 2979 New Leicester Highway, South Buncombe Library, 260 Overlook Road in Asheville, UNCA Health in Counseling Center, 118 W.T. Weaverville Boulevard on the UNCA campus, Weaverville Community Center, 60 Lakeshore Drive, Dr. Wesley Grant Southside Center, 285 Livingston Street, Weaverville, the West Asheville Library, 942 Haywood Road. As of this morning, there's 1,048 customers in Buncombe County without power. These customers will require specific restoration practices to get back online. But we heard from our Duke partners that they are even using helicopters to get poles into these locations to restore service. For those without power, please be sure to register with FEMA, as they may provide hotels for impacted individuals while the work is being done to restore power. Our Spectrum shared with us that Spectrum has restored service to 70% of their Buncombe County customers. And they have updated the full restoration date to Monday, October 21st. About 28,000 customers remain offline. Moving to debris pickup. Yesterday, 18 trucks moved 2,700 yards of vegetative debris from the Woodfin unincorporated area and the Fairview area. There was also another 452.5 yards of debris removed from the Swananoa area. Today, 21 trucks are running in the unincorporated area of Woodfin, Barnersville, and Fairview. As we begin to recover, we want to work with our restaurant partners to help restaurant open and to reopen, not just open, to help our restaurants reopen. The state has approved a new simple emergency operations plan for food establishments form. So the state has approved a new form that is much more simple. Operators can complete and submit online by visiting buncombecounty.org/EH and select Emergency Operations Plan. Once establishments have completed that form, they may not require a visit from environmental health. We will release updated guidance later today. But please, if you want to work on getting your restaurants reopened, please go to buncombecounty.org/EH, E as in environmental, H as in health, buncombecounty.org/EH to complete the form. Our shelters are open and have capacity. An update for people with pets. You can also use the Farmer Goals Gym location on Hendersonville Road, in addition to WNC Ag Center. The other shelters at AB Tech are also open. Food and water distribution continues, but as more people get water and schools set to reopen, these are changing. Locations for today: AC Reynolds High School, One Rocket Drive, Buncombe County Sports Park, 58 APAC Drive in Asheville, Black Mountain Eagles, 550 NC9, Fairview Elementary School, 1355 Charlotte Highway in Fairview. That one is open noon until 4. And as a matter of fact, these sites are open in noon until 4 p.m. AC Reynolds High School, Buncombe County Sports Park, Black Mountain Eagles, Fairview Elementary, and Swananoa Ingalls in Swananoa. All noon till 4. Continuing on our water distribution sites, Lester Elementary School, that's at 31 Gilbert Road. Linwood Crump Elementary School, that time for Linwood Crump is 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. North Bendy Ridge Intermediate School in Weaverville, noon until 4 p.m. William Estes Elementary School, noon until 4. Skylands Bowling, 1477 Patton Avenue is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. At Home, the parking lot at that store, At Home, 980 Brevard Road in Asheville. That is located at 98 Silver Springs Road, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Pat Square Park, 7 Court Plaza, again, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Innsbrook Mall, where the old Big Lots on Tunnel Road, is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Next, we'll hear from Bob Haynes, Director of Permits and Inspections.
Good morning, everyone. Bob Haynes, Buncombe County Permits and Inspections. To date, staff has performed 1,461 damage assessment inspections and processed over 1,000 applications that have come in. We also received assistance from a team of 10 code officials from the city of High Point, Johnston County, Iredell County, and Cabarrus County to assist with those damage assessment inspections. I ask that everyone please be patient with our permitting process, and more importantly, my staff. They're processing applications as quickly as they can get them processed, while many are still dealing with issues themselves. We encourage everyone to visit our website and view our how-tos to let you know how to do the application process. And if anyone has any questions about our website, it is buncombecounty.org/permits. Again, buncombecounty.org/permits, or they can call our office 828-250-5444. 5360. Again, 828-250-5360. When we're performing the damage assessments, our goal is to, number one, determine safety. 2, evaluate the structural aspects as well as any non-structural risks. And 3, we then rate the damage of the building. Once these factors are determined by the building inspector, a placard is placed on the building. If you have a yellow placard, restricted use. There's information on here that can tell you where you may not go, or where you can go, or you may not be able to enter that building at all. We've had buildings that's been flooded up to the ceiling level. We allow entry to remove personal items. If you have a red placard, which they may appear pink, that's on the paper we can find, those are deemed unsafe. And they can have serious issues of structural damage, completely submerged electrical panels, wiring, and devices. Repairs will definitely be required for these, and possible even structural engineering requirements. So if you have any questions on these placards, you don't understand it, or it's not clear, please call our office, 828-250-5360. We can research the address and get the detailed inspection report that was done on that. So once we get through all that placards and all that stuff, now I'm going to go through the permitting process. Currently, if you had damage from the storm, all related permits are free of charge. They're completely free. Obtaining a permit is a guaranteed way that you're working with a licensed contractor, and that ensures that if you have issues, those contractors can be dealt with with the boards that they are working under. So if your home was located within the special flood hazard area and a significant damage occurred, please reach out to our floodplain administrator, 828-250-4830. Again, the floodplain administrator, 828-250-4830. The reason I ask you to do that is you may have requirements above and beyond just a simple emergency repair permit. A permit is also required for projects when the cost is in excess of $40,000. And if it gets to that amount, a properly licensed North Carolina general contractor is required for the project. A homeowner can also act as an owner builder if it is an owner occupied home. A permit is required for any structural repair. Permit is required for any trade work such as electrical, plumbing, HVAC, mechanical heating and cooling, or gas piping. Again, all permits associated with storm damage are free. I can't emphasize that enough. So these are vulnerable times for people. Don't be taken by a scam. Please ask for their license numbers, have them obtain the permits, show you a permit number. And if you have any questions, just call our office. We can always help. And anybody have any questions or however? Yeah, okay, very good. That's all I have. Again, Buncombe County permits, 828-250-5360.
Thank you, Bob. That's super helpful information. Next, we are going to move to our school superintendents. We're going to start first alphabetical order, Asheville City Schools. Dr. Maggie Furman's going to come share some exciting news for Asheville City Schools families.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Maggie Furman here, Superintendent for Asheville City Schools. I'm excited that I can confirm that we do have water, non-potable water at every one of our Asheville City School campuses. However, at this moment, the service and pressure still is variable as leaks are found and repaired. However, I am fully confident that Asheville City Schools can reopen for all students starting on October 28th. I met with principals and district leaders yesterday to clearly define what a successful reopening of our schools will look like for our Cougar crew on the 28th. School and district leaders will be working collaboratively with staff to ensure that we are fully ready for students to return on the 28th. There is still a great deal of work that needs to be done before our students return to the school buildings, including rerouting and testing bus runs, securing sufficient food in order to feed our students with resources that we can cook without potable water, time for our staff who had to leave, for them to return, and for our staff to prepare for our students. The major need continues to be drinkable water. FEMA did provide guidance on how many liters of water we need per person per hour. Using this formula, we are able to provide enough water for every student to return on a shortened instructional day. We are diligently working on identifying additional sources of drinkable water for our students so that we can return to a full instructional day as soon as possible. Wednesday, October 23rd will be an optional workday for staff. Thursday, October 24th and Friday, October 25th will be required workdays for staff. The Asheville City School Board will be meeting on October 21st at 5 p.m. to discuss any other potential calendar changes. We'll be sending out more information directly to our Cougar families later this week with lots of additional details so that our families can also prepare to reopen schools on the 28th. On behalf of the entire Asheville City Schools Cougar crew, I want to extend our immense gratitude for all the resources and support that have poured into this area. Together, we can achieve more than we thought possible. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Rob Jackson, Superintendent of the Buncombe County School System. As our area continues to recover, our hearts continue to be with our students, our Buncombe County Schools team members, their families, and all of our neighbors who've suffered loss. We're working with each of our schools and our school communities to assess and help with the needs of each of our families among our students and staff. We're incredibly grateful for the businesses, faith-based organizations, and school districts across the country that have reached out and are offering much needed aid. I want to offer a heartfelt thank you to all of those helpers. This morning, I'd also like to update you on school reopening plans. We're grateful for the crews that have water flowing into more of our schools. Currently, 44 of our 45 schools have power, 34 of our 45 schools have water, and 38 of our 45 schools have internet connectivity. We're looking forward to being 45 of 45 in all three of those areas. This week, Buncombe County Schools, in conjunction with the incident management team, the Asheville City Schools, and 7 area charter schools, have developed a plan for distributing the drinking water that Dr. Furman just referenced. We're looking forward as the Buncombe County School System to help assist and deliver that water to all of our public schools, regardless of whether they're county schools, city schools, or charter schools, as we look forward to serving the children throughout Buncombe County. This week, our Buncombe County Schools team members are also being trained by our fire marshal on fire watch. In several of our schools where the water is flowing, the pressure remains inconsistent. And so to ensure that we can open as soon as possible, we need to make sure that we have been trained on the fire watch procedures just in case our fire sprinkler systems are not ready to go. Currently, I've shared previously that none of our 45 school buildings suffered catastrophic damage. However, restoration work continues at 7 of our schools that had flooded classrooms or suffered significant roof leaks. Our maintenance teams and contractors continue this work and will be working throughout the weekend as we look forward to finishing that work. Our technology team is restoring safety, security, and communication systems across the school system. Another challenge we're closer to solving is school transportation. Our school buses travel more than 15,000 miles every single school day. We've traveled those routes. We're redrawing our routes and identifying community stops in areas where our buses may not safely be able to travel because of damaged roads or washed out bridges or because of trees. In many of the roads, trees had been trimmed back to allow cars to pass, but our buses are much larger than a car. And so there are some roads we still can't access that cars might be able to with our school buses. Where our power has been restored to our schools, we're again stocking our freezers and our refrigerators. Our nutrition teams are pivoting to prepare meals without potable water flowing from the taps. When our students return, we're glad that we'll be able to continue to offer free breakfast and lunches to our more than 22,000 students. We're also working very hard to prepare for the emotional well-being of our staff and students when we return to the buildings after the challenges of the past few weeks. We're grateful for the support of additional school counselors and school social workers from school systems all across the state of North Carolina who will be coming alongside our school counselors and school social workers to support our students and staff as we return to school. The work is progressing at an impressive pace. As we get closer to finalizing all of the pieces, we feel confident that we'll be able to give an accurate reopening date very soon. We know that there are families who are staying out of the area and families who need to plan, including our staff families. We will give at the very least, a 72-hour notice to help with planning. Finally, I'd like to thank our student services team members who helped with college registration efforts this week, and our teachers and coaches who helped resume high school extracurricular activities this week. We know in these times, many students are hopeful for a return to typical days. Using our outdoor facilities in our schools that do have adequate water pressure, we are glad that we've been able to allow students, as they are able, to participate in marching band and chorus and career and technical education competitions and athletics to be together and pursue our passions. We know and we've seen, together we rise. Thank you.
Our last guest is Beth Russo with ELON Charities.
Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to tell you that thanks to the hard work of the City of Asheville Water Resources Department, our organization was able to open our offices as normal as of this past Monday. Right now, what we are doing is providing people with gasoline vouchers to get both gas drive and gas to run generators. We are definitely assisting with rent and mortgage issues. We know that people have lost their jobs and their incomes, and we are happy to help get people caught back up on their housing assistance needs. Beyond that, we're also doing our normal work, providing medical assistance through prescription costs, helping with co-pays and covering things like eyeglasses and eye exams. Lastly, one of the things that our staff and volunteers decided to do last week was to open a free store. And we are open right now every day at 9 o'clock, providing warm clothing, blankets, hygiene supplies, diapers, food, water, and a whole host of other essential items. If you need any of these things, please come to our offices. We are happy to help. One of the other things I want to mention is that with the temperatures dropping in our region, again, we're giving out coats and blankets daily, but you can come to our official winter clothing giveaway next Wednesday, October 23rd, beginning at 10 a.m. We have clothing in sizes infant to XXX, and we want to get those out of our warehouse and onto people's shoulders and into their laps to keep them warm at this hard time. If you need help with something that I have not mentioned today, please come to our office at 23 Hamilton Street, Asheville 28801, or call our office at 828-255-3066. You can check our social media accounts for updates on daily hours, as well as updated information on some needs. If you want to help your community and you're in position to, we are accepting blankets right now. Again, hygiene items and other things that will make people's lives easier in the coming weeks and months during this hard time. Lastly, I've had many people ask me about our Thanksgiving meal giveaway and our St. Nicholas holiday gift store, which will be operating as normal. November 1st, you can look for information about how to receive a turkey and full sides. Even though I know all of us are not thinking about Thanksgiving meals right now, it is something that brings normalcy and celebration to our lives. And on November 4th, we will be updating information about how to get toys, books, bicycles, and other items for your children and teenagers to give as a holiday gift this year. I have been so encouraged by the hard work of our community. I have given and received so many hugs from people who are both grateful to give help and grateful to receive help. And I'm thrilled that our community is WNC strong because together we make it better. Thank you.
I needed a second after hearing about the Thanksgiving turkeys. That concludes our community guests who are here today to provide updates. And so now we'll turn it over to our members from the media who are joining on a Zoom call, or any questions that we may have in the chat. Angelica.
Lillian, good morning.
Charles.
Question for Dr. Jackson.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Jackson. Thank you for taking some of our questions. First of all, I want you to know that I hear all the challenges you're dealing with. It's a lot, and I appreciate it. As a parent, I appreciate it. But should water be restored to county schools, will schools be ready to reopen by, say, maybe the 28th, like Asheville City Schools, or possibly November 4th? I understand you're putting all these pieces in place, but is there a goal date like that?
Well, the goal date that we've stated all along, and thank you very much for the question, is we want to open as soon as possible. And so as soon as possible includes all dates from this moment until the dates you mentioned. And so we're looking forward to very quickly being able to announce that date. As we mentioned earlier, and as you're aware, our teams have been working literally around the clock to make that happen. And so we are looking forward to making that announcement with a goal date. But as soon as possible means just that. We want to get our schools open because we know our students need to be in school.
Right.
Staff need our students and our families need their children back in school.
So once water is flowing, the biggest question will be potable water. So kids have water to drink, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And we appreciate our partners. I appreciate you lifting that up. That's been major work in terms of delivering those bottles of water. So we actually started those deliveries this week using our box trucks and our maintenance teams, and we're delivering those bottles of water to charter schools and the Asheville City Schools and Buncombe County Schools, so that we are literally trying to make sure there's no impediment to opening school as soon as possible. Getting those bottles of water into our schools right now ensures that happens.
All right. So just to reiterate, as soon as you can get bottled water in place and bus routes cleared, you're going to be about as good to go as you can be until water's fully restored, correct?
That's exactly right. We're trying to make sure that everything that could be an impediment to open has been addressed, and we've worked through all of those things, including bus routes and water, safety of our buildings, thinking about fire watch if that's necessary, ensuring that our buildings are watertight and that they're completely safe. And so we're doing our very best to check that list as quickly as we can.
Great, Dr. Jackson. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And this is John Boyle with Asheville Watchdog. I have a couple of questions for Dr. Furman.
Here she comes.
Hey, John.
Hey, good morning. Hope you're doing all right. Got a couple questions about the wells. It's been reported, I think, at 4 of 8 schools, y'all were drilling wells. Is that continuing? Will you drill wells? And if so, why? And I'm also curious what the cost per well is. I've heard some pretty high figures on that.
Yeah, so we did successfully drill a well at Hall Fletcher. We cited the locations where we could potentially drill a well, several wells at the high school. We would need more than one well there to be operational if the city water went out for whatever reason. Right now, we are changing our focus to be primarily on securing drinkable water through donations, bottled water, et cetera, and are grateful for the support from Buncombe County Schools for helping deliver and work out the logistics for all that. So we're pausing on the wells until we can get our students back in schools and be up and running again at full speed. And then we are going to be very strategic and systematic as we look at continuing to drill wells at each campus, just so we have a backup if something happens to the city water. probably once or twice a year, we do have water outages for whatever reason. And if water goes out for a certain amount of time, we do have to send students home. So our goal is to have wells on each campus so that regardless of what happens, we do have backup water. We want to make sure that that water is safe, and we've gone through all the right procedures to make sure that that water would not damage anything in our facilities. As it goes for the cost, we've gotten several numbers on cost, so we're also being very intentional about making sure that we are getting a good price on wells as we look at adding those to our campuses in the future.
So to be clear, have y'all signed any contracts for well drilling at this point?
No.
Okay. Could you give me a range on the prices y'all are seeing?
So, the initial price that we got was for a well of regardless of whatever could happen. So it was a very high number on our initial quote for a well, and that was including if we need to add lots of different filters and water treatment, as well as having to drill significantly deep wells, and kind of quoting us on, hey, the maximum that this could cost. The range we're getting now is somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000 per well.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I have an additional question for Dr. Furman. We have some folks in the chat on asking about bridge learning. Will that continue next week? And any ideas for childcare?
Yes, so bridge learning has been an amazing opportunity to re-engage our students and staff. Seeing the connections and keeping our students with a little bit of normalcy. It's been an amazingly successful program. We're very excited that we were able to put that together this week because we are going to gear up and start getting our teachers back and planning the lessons and making sure that we have a successful start on the 28th. Bridge learning will end this Friday so that our staff can start readjusting, getting into their buildings, making sure that they've got classes ready. For childcare, we have a team that is looking at what are some options for childcare. And hopefully, as water is being returned across the city and across the county, all of the childcares hopefully can get up and running sooner than later as well.
This is Will Atwater, NC Health News. I have a question for Dr. Furman. Not to belabor the point about wells, but I think in a previous briefing, you had talked about maybe on the higher end, the cost was quoted as to maybe $100,000. Am I accurate in that estimate?
Correct. That's the price we got from our initial inquiry into wells. And that was, hey, if you have to do all of these extra hours, that would be the maximum cost. But what we're finding now as we work through this is that the cost will most likely be between $12,000 and $15,000.
Okay, and then one last thing. So, and then in a previous briefing, I think you said the goal was ultimately to provide wells, a total of 8 to 10 wells. Is that still the long range goal?
Yes, that's still our goal.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Additional questions?
Hi, Lillian, it's Laura at BPR.
BPR.
Wanted to ask you about, I know the fatalities are being assessed by the state, but is it possible for you all to at least give us information about how many bodies have been sent to the state for investigations, or how many you have reported have been sent? Because there's a lot of misinformation about the number of fatalities, and we just love any clarity you could give on that.
I'm glad that you're asking that, and I'm glad that you're trying to help adjust some of the misinformation that's out there. Now, the Office of the State Medical Examiner, when you have an incident of this magnitude, a disaster that has impacted our community in the way that it does, each agency has their area of purview. And so the Office of the State Medical Examiner is the agency that has the purview over losses of life and fatalities. And they are, we defer to the appropriate agency so that we can ensure that our response is going in the right direction. When the magnitude of this event and disaster presented itself, at that time, the Office of the State Medical Examiner set up a location in Buncombe County and brought in additional medical examiners to Buncombe County to help facilitate that. So we defer to the Office of the State Medical Examiner for all of those numbers and have been doing so for the last couple weeks. I can't remember the specific date, but that is because they have a certain process and we must follow their process, because one of the most egregious things that we could do is to report a number that is not true, to interfere in the process of notifying the next of kin, to interfere in the process of affording our lost friends and neighbors the respect they deserve in the wake of this disaster. And so as a result of that, we are deferring everything to the Office of the State Medical Examiner, and that is the appropriate avenue moving forward. So feel free to send your questions to them. They have their process that they're following in the fatality response. So I'm sorry that I can't give you a number or a better number or something with a definitive period at the end of it. But that is the information that we have, and that is the truth. And I would just encourage folks who are, especially online, to make sure that you are sourcing accurate information.
Thank you for giving us that clarity, Lillian. Appreciate it. If I could ask a question pertaining to the city's trash, and I don't know who's there to answer this, but the announcement yesterday of these additional trash sites, some of those are in close proximity to apartments and to some public housing, and we're hearing a lot of community concerns about.
So you're referring to the debris management sites for the city of Asheville, I think.
That's right, yes.
Because there's been trash questions about Black Mountain. I actually have City Manager Deborah Campbell here.
Great.
Good morning. And the question is?
Well, the question is, there's a lot of community concerns that we're hearing about the proximity, at least of one of these locations, to apartments, affordable apartments, to public housing, the positioning of this in a neighborhood where, you know, potentially lots of heavy trucks are going to be coming in and out, safety hazards of that, just environmental concerns. Can you speak to the process of selecting those locations and any precautions you all are taking to try to protect the people who live closest to these new debris sites?
Sure. In terms of the process, we actually looked at, based on the sense of urgency and the need. We have about 3 million cubic yards of debris that need to be addressed. And this was property that the city owned, and it was the possibility of us staging those sites as soon as possible. Certainly, all environmental regulations and so forth will be adhered to. We are also looking at several other sites. Another site is the front nine of the Muni Golf Course. So we are looking at every opportunity to disperse these sites throughout the community. But again, because of the sense of urgency and the need to get this debris removed as quickly as possible, again, we went with a location and property that we owned. Every precaution will be made, including security and other environmental, as I said, means to protect the surrounding community. The one last thing that I will add is we did extensive outreach to the residents to let them know of what they should expect. We knocked on doors, we did flyers, and some of the information that we received from the community is we understand that we're all in this together, and we will let you know if there are any issues or concerns that come up as a result of using this property in the manner that's it's proposed to be used for debris removal.
Ms. Campbell, while you're there, John Boyle, and while we're talking debris, and I think Ms. Pender might need to address this too. I've had a couple people ask me about debris in waterways, the French Broad, other creeks and streams. And I know sometimes that's kind of a gray area on who's responsible for removing that. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure, I'm going to ask Ms. Pender to respond to that question.
Thank you.
Hi, John.
Good
Um,
morning.
Yes, water, if there's debris in the waterways, is that your exact question? Who's responsible for the waterways?
That's correct. Yeah.
So there are two types of waterways, and you're gonna really stretch the limits of my knowledge, but we have been working with our FEMA partners and our US Corps of Engineer partners and our state to think about the different types of water. One is waters of the USA, which is the navigable waters, and what is not navigable. I'm saying that word right. So if it is waters of the USA, then we don't have to worry about rights of entry and who owns that property. So we can enter that property and start cleaning up that waterway. So we're researching that part. The other waters that would not be considered waters of the US and will just be a normal river running through our community, we have to get the ownership of the land that is adjacent to that property and get rights of entry to come onto that site to clean the waterways. That is an ongoing conversation. We would love to just go and start cleaning up the water, but we do have to have legal permission to enter that water. We're working through what does that look like. We're even talking about, can a state of emergency cover that and don't have to go to every single resident to get entry to the rivers? So we're working through that now, lots of conversations going, but we know that we need to get the rivers open. We know we need to get the debris out of there. How to do that with the liability and legal aspects, that's where we are right now.
That sounds like very complicated. Could that be a matter of, what do you think, several weeks maybe to get people start seeing that work being done, or how long do you think that might be?
Now, I hate to give a timeline, but we want it started as soon as possible. We actually have the right people in the room at the table talking through that now. So hopefully we can have that started, to get that started within the next few weeks to get that started.
Okay, thank you.
But please don't quote me on that, because as soon as is when we want to start that.
Gotcha.
Any other questions before we leave?
Could we just clarify the boil water notice that's in effect for the city relative to the advisory I think you mentioned for the county? There's some confusion there.
Okay, I'm gonna let the water guru speak to that.
So if you are a city of Asheville, excuse me, water customer, meaning you get a water bill from the city, you are under a boil water notice and will continue to be. There is no timetable to get that lifted. That's completely going to depend on the water in the reservoir at North Fork clearing up. Obviously, we've served some areas in Buncombe County who have separate distribution systems, and I know they have some sort of different advisories and regulations set up. I can't speak to those. But if you get a water bill from the city of Asheville, you are still under a boil water notice until further notice.
While we have you, Clay,
I'm back.
is there any update? Yesterday you said the boat was going to treat the reservoir, and then we were also waiting on curtains. Can you give us any details on that?
Yesterday afternoon, the boat was able to hit the water. The weather conditions did not help any. It was pretty windy out there yesterday, which sort of complicates things two different ways. Number one, when you're spraying something, any kind of windy conditions sort of makes it super hard to control whatever it is you're spraying, obviously. Number two, windy conditions are one of the worst things that can happen when you have a body of water that you're trying to clear up. Because it pushes the water around, it stirs up all the sediment that's actually in there already. And as a result, this morning, the lake at North Fork, the reservoir at North Fork, was actually more turbid than it was yesterday. So this is going to be sort of a 2 steps forward, 1 step, 1.5 steps back process. And we knew it wasn't going to be a quick fix, but there are some things that are completely out of our control, like the weather, that's going to affect how fast this process moves.
Does that change the time frame of switching over? Or does that push the timeline of being able to switch to that filtered water? It sounds like it does.
It definitely doesn't speed it up. Yeah.
Clay, if I could ask a quick question, I've had at least one reader kind of offer some mild concern about what they see as increasing specificity of the boil water advisories. And I think folks are just a little concerned about what is in the water and the details that are coming with these boil water advisories. I know y'all are trying to be very careful. Could you explain, why they're so specific and if y'all are getting more specific with them?
That's simply a function of wanting our customers to have as much information as possible. As we get new information and new guidance from the EPA, we're popping it out there. I think in my email to you yesterday, John, so to back up a little bit, North Fork is the problem as far as the turbidity, the reservoir out there. If we could get that cleared up, we'd be pushing potable water through our system. That's the challenge, obviously. The good news is, if you want to call it that, is that reservoir is surrounded by roughly 20,000 acres of completely protected national forest. It's not downstream of any kind of development. It's not downstream of any kind of ag production or industrial runoff or anything like that. And so under normal conditions, the starting point of this water, meaning before it runs through any kind of treatment, it almost meets EPA standards for drinking water before we do anything to it. Again, under normal conditions, that's not the case now. And so what most of the turbidity is caused by a couple of things. Number one, the lake being completely flipped upside down, which means the sediment that was on the bottom, all of it came to the top. The second thing is there are streams and creeks and various tributaries, again, in a protected national forest that feed that reservoir, and they're going to bring their own sediment with it. And so we're talking about sand, silt, clay particles. We're not talking about agricultural chemicals running off into this. And so the increased level of detail is not meant to alarm anybody. It's meant to educate them as much as we possibly can.
Thank you.
Yep.
This is Laura Hackett with Blue Ridge Public Radio. I just have a question. I think it's for the county, just related to water. So we're seeing a lot of restaurants that are starting to reopen, and I was just wondering, are they using the non-potable water for anything? Are they fully operating off of these like big cisterns? Just trying to get a sense of like how the non-potable water is playing into restaurant operations.
So like the county manager referenced, there's an emergency operations plan for restaurants. And so a boil water situation is not uncommon for a restaurant to operate under. And so those guidelines are set forth through the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, and the restaurants operate under those emergency operations plans. So I wouldn't be able to make a blanket statement for all restaurants, but each one is operating under that emergency operations plan that best suits their delivery mechanism. For instance, they're not, some folks went to Chick-fil-A yesterday, no fountain drinks, they're using canned sodas instead of fountain drinks. So that would be kind of an example of that. But so each one is operating under that EOP.
Lillian, a quick question for Ben Woody, please.
Well, I'm sorry, but Ben's not here, so he can't answer your question.
Can I throw it out there?
Joint Information Center will take your email and your request, but throw it out there.
Okay, thank you. Questions were coming up here at the station this morning about the boiled water notification for those folks who live right in that area where Mills River Reservoir may be bleeding along with the North Fork Reservoir. Say someone who lives in Fletcher, who isn't sure where their water comes from, do they honor the boiled water notification?
Yeah. If you're receiving water, you get your water bill from the city of Asheville, right? You don't need to know which treatment plant it comes from, but you should boil that water before you consume it, 100%.
Okay, just to be clear here, a few of the folks that work here were saying, well, I think I get my water from Hendersonville, or Henderson County, not from Asheville City Water. So it was a debate, and better safe than sorry.
my recommendation would be, when in doubt, boil that water until the advisory is lifted or the notice is lifted. It doesn't take long, and it just makes sure that you're keeping your loved ones, your family, and your pets safe.
I hear it. Great. Thank you, Lily.
Cool. That is all the time that we've got for today. Want to make sure, for planning purposes, we will not have a community briefing on Sunday morning. I'm gonna go vote. And so I encourage all of the rest of y'all to please take advantage of our early voting locations. There were 50 people in line at our Black Mountain Library this morning waiting to vote when doors opened at 9 a.m. So anytime between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., take advantage of our early voting location, and we'll see you out there. If you need to register, if you haven't registered, you need to register, you can do it at the same time during early voting. See you there.